Welcome to Repum Group's Item 24, where we take you a step beyond the standard FDD. We asked ourselves, why stop at 23 items when some of the most important insights live beyond the page? Here we're breaking down the inner workings of franchising and sharing real-life strategies and stories that drive the industry forward.
Yeah, so Nick, it's funny. I got into franchising like a lot of people I have met in franchising by mistake. I was a mechanical contractor doing a lot of work for McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Friendly's, Denny's, Hilton, all the big brands, hotels, and fast food restaurants. And I was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just got married as a young guy. And my neighbor moved into a brand new home across the street. He was a bagel baker from New York. His name was Nate Greenspan. And Nate actually kind of got ran out of New York from the Bagel Bakers Union, if you could imagine there was a union for bagel bakers back then. Anyway, he comes to New Jersey and opens a shop in Philadelphia. And after 5 years, as most malls do, you know this, they want you to remodel. So he had hired us for the remodel. And while we were under construction, he had a heart attack and passed. So his wife said to me, I don't know what to do with the bagel shop. So I can't pay you, but I can give you the bagel shop. So we took over the bagel shop in the Gallery Mall on Ninth and Market in Philadelphia. And from there, we grew it to four or five more. And then you may be too young to remember these names, but back in the day, there was a franchise called Bagel Nosh out of Florida. And we bought all of their stores, rolled them up into what we were doing. And then there was another chain called Skolnick's that was owned by R.J. Reynolds and Company. And they were in a position to sell. So we bought them and rolled them up. So I rolled up the two large brands along with what I was doing independently with what Nate had left me. And then I sold to a publicly traded company. And that was my kind of foray into franchising. I was a franchisor. I treated everybody as if they were my kids with the same last name. And every morning we get up and have to have breakfast together and agree to disagree if that's what we have to do. But I really enjoyed it. I cut my teeth on being a franchisor. Really by just getting up every day and figuring it out day by day. When I finally sold to the public company, I certainly learned a lot. And then with that money, I heard that there was an opportunity. Krispy Kreme Donuts was just starting to franchise. So I applied. I flew down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and met with the folks there. So I ended up becoming a large franchisee of Krispy Kreme. So my territories, I owned Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, all three states. So we had a lot of donut shops and we had a lot of trucks on the road, and that's where I cut my teeth really as a franchisee. And then it was after I sold back to Krispy Kreme that I became a supplier. I was just about the time Len was kind of gearing up the business and getting more and more popular, using the ROBS program to use your retirement funds to start a business. And he was looking for an advisory board, and I was recommended by a few of the franchise consulting firms to go have lunch with him. I was local. I was in Philadelphia. He was local. So, here's an old Jewish guy from New York, a young Italian guy from Philadelphia, two worlds apart. We had lunch, and the rest was history. That was 15 years ago. And after I was on the board of advisors for a while for the supplier, for Benetrends, he had asked me to take over as CEO. So that's been 15 years, and boy, oh boy, what a wild ride it has been. But I will tell you, I was fortunate that I had the experience to be a franchisee and to be a franchisor and understand that, because today in our world at Benetrends, all of our clients are franchisees, but all of our referral partners, like yourselves, being an FSO, are a lot of franchisors. So I know what they go through. I understand the relationship a lot, and it really does make it easier for us to be able to put programs together that make sense. And more importantly, I think it makes it easier for us to communicate because I'm not missing anything. I really understand the full circle, if you will, the full picture of how it all works together. If you don't understand that, it's like looking through the peephole of a hotel door. You really don't see what's going on in the hallway. You really don't understand the full picture. So I've been blessed that I was able to have experience in all three legs of the stool in franchising. So I'm pretty happy as a supplier, and I just love the business we're in. I love the team we have, and couldn't ask for more.
Well, I've actually, since you came on board, I think, I started my journey in a lot of funding franchisors through our business about 15 years ago. So you were kind of fresh into the Benetrends world when I started to utilize Benetrends, and one of our very own, Storm Miller, was part of Benetrends in those days when
Yes,
we were doing
yes.
a lot of exponential fitness funding, and I got to know what I would say the in and out of what made Benetrends special and the DNA of Benetrends, and so we started doing a lot of deals with you guys. So I guess through that experience, and as you know, Repum Group does thousands of deals over the course of our 6 years of existence now with franchisees. What do you think the biggest misconception is with candidates coming in about funding, and what they should expect versus what they anticipate they're going to get out of it?
Yeah, I think the first big challenge is that they don't understand what's available. Secondly, I think they don't understand where they are in the process. A lot of people have access to capital, but they just don't know how to go about it. One of the things that I always find interesting is when a franchisor does not have a funding partner, and they say to their candidate, go to your bank and tell them about our brand. Now, this candidate just met the brand 2 weeks ago. They barely got to discovery day. They're going to go try to find a lender. And a lot of times they think they have a relationship with a bank. Well, they don't. They have a checking account and they know Mary, the teller, but they don't really understand the back end of the bank where the SBA loans take place. First of all, we only work with preferred lenders. And what that means is the lenders we work with are able to approve SBA loans without getting approval from anyone at the SBA department in Washington. The only time SBA in Washington, D.C., the government backed program, comes into play is in the unlikely event there's a default. That's when the government comes in and says, we've guaranteed the loan, provided everything was done correctly. So all the I's have to be dotted, all the T's have to be crossed. Therein lies some of the other challenges. When we get a candidate, they've never done an SBA loan, they've never really gone through, in most cases, any government programs. They haven't been on government assistance, they haven't been on Medicaid yet. So all this is so new to them. And because we work with it every day, like anything else, it's very common for us. So we're able to get them an understanding of the documentation that's going to need to be provided. And once they work with us as a consultant, we can kind of gear them to the lender that we believe has an appetite for what they're doing. Some lenders don't like fast food, some do. Some lenders don't like some of the service brand businesses or some of the other home brand businesses, and other lenders love them. So the point is, we want to make sure we pair them right with the right lender that has the appetite for the type of loan that they're going to be making or they should get. Now, everybody's different. Obviously, everybody's personal assets vary. So there's a number of different products out there now. When I first joined Benetrends 15 years ago, we were basically the Rob's vending machine, for lack of a better term. All we did was Rob's. And then about 4 or 5 years into it, I wanted to start the SBA department, and now we have banking in general. So there's a lot of different types of things we can do. I will tell you, obviously, the ROBS program, the Rollover for Business Startup, where you do use your retirement funds, tax deferred and penalty free to start your business, has been the most popular. It's a big part of our business. But now, in the last 10 years, SBA has been a big part of our business as well. And we do other things like equipment leasing or unsecured lending. Unsecured lending always has kind of a bad color or vibe in the industry because, to me anyway, unsecured lending is not for people with bad credit. It's for people with good credit that want a short-term loan and don't want to go through an SBA process. So we use it a little differently than most. And then obviously, a lot of times because we are the architects of the ROBS program, we've incorporated the ROBS into some of the SBA loans. So if you've got a large project, call it $1 million, and you want to borrow money from the SBA is going to probably require 20% down. That's $200,000. Where do we get that? If you do have $200,000 in your checking account, you may want to keep that. That's already taxed, and I call that post-closing liquidity. But you could take the 200,000 out of your retirement account, and maybe you've got a half a million or 700,000 in there. So take the 200,000 out, tax free. You're working with 40% of the government's money at that point, and use that as your down payment. So it makes it a lot easier, a little more breathing room because your debt service is a little lower, and you don't have to pay that $200,000 back. So kind of Just like a franchise consultant would do for a candidate, you profile them and understand their lifestyle, their interests, what they want to do, their timing. We do the same thing, but only on the funding side. And we really try to help franchisors, brands in general, become kind of their in-house finance department, if you will. Everyone needs guidance on how to get their project funded. I mean, some people, yes, do use their own capital, their own money, but as you well know, that's probably less than 10% of the people we come across that just pay cash for it. And, the rates are reasonable. They're not high, they're not low. I mean, I'm old enough to remember rates in the 18, 19% range. So now that they're in the sixes and sevens, it's not the end of the world. But the misconception really is this is going to be easy. It's not easy because when you think about it, it's a brand new business. The risks are pretty high. So here's a lender giving you $500,000 to open a brand new business in a brand new shopping center with no history whatsoever of the ability to repay. So
Yeah.
they look at your credit behavior. The other misconception is people think that they're going to borrow money based on their credit score. And that's not necessarily true. It's certainly one of the many tools that a lender looks at to evaluate a loan, but there's many other considerations that go into that, and we make sure that we walk through all of them. The other thing that is another big misconception is you don't need a business plan to get an SBA loan. That's just not true. You do need a business plan. Now, you don't need a prepared one by an accountant or even by Benetrends. We do business plans and we do them a lot, but we use them as a playbook. I mean, it's almost like a set of drawings for building the house. Now, can you get away with the drawing on the napkin and take it to the local township and get your permit to put a little pool in? I guess, but the business plan really is a playbook for the new franchise candidate, the entrepreneur going into business, and it comes with 3 years of projections, financial projections. So you don't have to wait till the end of the year, till January or February or March of the following year, till your accountant gets your financials to tell you that you had a good year or bad year. We like to give them the financials and ask them, look at them monthly, look at them quarterly, see where you're going. Franchisors can't do that because that would be an earnings claim, certainly before they sign the franchise agreement. Once they sign the franchise agreement, it's quite different. So we're talking about getting financing before they sign a franchise agreement. So a franchisor could not give them a business plan and certainly could not give them financial projections.
That was great info, Rocco. And thank you for all the insight today. As always, I consider you a friend and a great colleague, and really one of the pioneers in, I would say, where the finance world of franchising is today. You've been on the forefront of that, and we appreciate what you do for Rep'em, and we certainly appreciate what you do for franchising in general.
Well, Nick, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure, and I love working with you guys, and a lot more to come. I'm so excited about technology, and I can't wait to show you guys in the next few months all that's going on in the funding world, where it's just going to become easier and easier. You're going to see deals closing faster, and you're going to see the entrepreneurs saying, wow, that was somewhat painless. I thought it was going to be like a root canal. It was really smooth. So looking forward to sharing all that with you.
Thanks, Rocco.
You bet. Take care. Have a good day.